Greetings, YouTube. I may have mentioned in the past, but at one time I worked in inspection. I did inspection actually in two different positions. I was an incoming inspector at one point in my career, and then I was a floor inspector at the company I currently work for. I really liked being an inspector. It was interesting. You got to move around more. You got to do all kinds of interesting things. But the job I had was eliminated, so I became an operator. And when you're doing inspection, your life revolves around making sure that you catch other people's mistakes. That's what you do. It's occasionally a little depressing because your job is essentially very negative, and people are never really happy when you find their mistakes. Take my word for it. Much like when people get mad at cops when they get caught speeding, people get mad at inspectors when they find rejects. But because I have some experience in inspection, I can tell you that if you have more than 2% rejects, that's a problem. If under 2%, that's what you would consider a working situation where you can tune things, you can make adjustments, you can sort of drive the percentage down. If over 2%, that's really a stop. Step back, find out what's wrong with your process, and fix it now. You don't continue until you've figured out what's going on. So over 2% means that there's something really wrong with what is going on around you. And I mean, you go ahead and do some research on inspection and standard practices and things like that, and you will bear me out on this. Take my word for it. I've actually had to read the manuals, which are very, very dry. And why do I bring this up? Well, believe it or not, we actually test the Transportation Security Administration and see how well TSA agents actually are at doing their job. How good are they? What percentage of weapons, fake bombs, and things like that actually get through the security process and potentially onto a plane? And this testing has shown that in some airports, the failure rate is as high as 70%. That's 70%. And in a few, it was 100%. Every weapon and every potential bomb that they attempted to get onto a plane did. Now, like I said, that's considerably higher than 2%. So you need to stop the process, look at what you're doing, and fix what's wrong. Except we're not doing that. We're just rolling right on. We're not even slowing down. We're just continuing to do the same things over and over again. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but one of the definitions of insanity is making the same action and expecting a different result. And that's what apparently we in the U.S. are doing. I know of a case earlier in December, and the report I'm referring to, I believe, was released on the 17th. I know a case earlier this month where a man accidentally carried a .40 caliber pistol onto a plane, not realizing it until he had gotten off the plane and remembered it was in his bag. Now, that may sound strange to some people who don't carry firearms on a regular basis, particularly outside the U.S., but if you were regularly transporting firearms from point A to point B to a range or for your job and things like that, it becomes so much a part of your existence, you literally can forget you have a pistol on you. For example, I carry a knife every single day. I don't think about it. When I go to cut something, I just cut it. There's no real conscious effort involved. I've looked down to cut something, and my knife's already been in my hand. I didn't even think about it. So it is possible to carry a firearm and not know it's there. But the fact that this person was able to get it onto a plane without being stopped, questioned, and potentially arrested, unfortunately, this man did not attempt to harm anyone. He just was forgetful. Is kind of amazing. That's a real-world example. That wasn't a test. That wasn't let's see if this agent can do their job. So I'm wondering if people can tell me, why is it that we're continuing to fund and continuing to use policies that have a 70% failure rate. Let's ignore the 100% airport issues. We'll say that those are outliers. Those are fringe cases, we'll say. But 70%, that's really high. It's over 2, and to me that would be the criteria that would say the system is broken. So what percentage would you be comfortable with? Now remember, I don't think the TSA does anything of use at all. You armor the cockpits, you arm the pilot and the co-pilot. Done in one. You're finished. Let anybody carry anything they feel like onto a plane, because they're not going to be able to hijack it. The people on the plane are going to do something about it now. The pilot and the co-pilot can defend themselves. They can get the plane down in a safe way if no one can get into the cockpit. So the TSA is failing in every single regard. So why are we funding them? What percentage of failure are you comfortable with?